Great having you back today.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I don't want to put you on the spot, but is this a record fourth returning
It is.
webinar?
It is. Well, I think you and Strive might be tied.
That's all
Yeah.
right. That's okay company to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys have had some really good ones so far this fall.
Yeah, are you going to be at A4M later this
We
week?
so we were planning on it, and like there's just been a lot of too many things going on, and I'm actually just getting over bronchitis, so I have decided to not go. But it should be.
Yeah,
I heard it's a great event. It's supposed to be really huge.
yeah, no, it is all of the
Yeah.
above. That's true. We're DrWell is exhibiting. We have a presentation on Friday that I'm supposed to be giving, but my wife is actually due this month, and so if we'll see
That's
what happens.
exciting.
Yeah, yeah, no, we're very excited. It's our second baby, and so it's just a matter of whether she looks like she's starting to get close to going into labor. The thing is that she's due on the 25th, but our first baby came at 37 weeks, so she's already passed 37 weeks.
Okay.
So, and they keep telling her that this baby's going to come earlier, so we'll see. I mean, if
So
it's the
any day, so
25th,
you may be there.
yeah, I may or may not be there on Friday.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Congratulations. Keep us posted.
Thanks, thanks.
Um, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. Just a couple housekeeping items. So I'm Katya. I'm one of the founders at MedBio. We're very excited to have Dr. Kaplan from DrWell back with us today. And yeah, we'll have him run through the presentation, and then we'll hold questions at the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A. Actually, even in the chat, if people want to throw in there where they're from, we'd love to hear from you. And yeah, we will go on ahead and get started.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much again for having me. I love being here with the Med Bio Institute. It's always great attendance, great engagement, great questions. And for that reason, want to make sure that everybody knows to ask questions. So I'll get into a little bit more about what Dr. Well does and all of that as through the course of the presentation. But this is definitely supposed to be very educational. Yes, we are a company. Yes, we want you to utilize our services. So I don't want to totally ignore that. But through the process of all this, we are absolutely trying to educate you what you can do in your practice. But in the process, you may find out that, okay, I can't do all of this on my own to stay compliant, stay legal. So in that case, we may you may find that our services are worthwhile. But anyway, we'll get into all that. So, but to start with, I'm Jonathan Kaplan. I'm a board certified plastic surgeon in San Francisco. If you're wondering why a plastic surgeon is into the weight loss and wellness, I feel like 3 years ago I had to explain that, but now you don't really have to explain as much about why you're into wellness because now pretty much every doctor in America needs to be considering, rather than treating symptoms, treat the underlying cause, and maybe patients won't have those same symptoms. So we're all really kind of getting into wellness now. But the reason we did get into it is that about 4 years ago in 2021, even before the whole semaglutide Ozempic craze, we had patients coming in for surgery for body contouring procedures like consults, and their BMI was too high. They weren't good candidates for surgery. So rather than turning them away, our nurse and nurse practitioners suggested that we start a weight and wellness program. And they wanted to do coaching and things like that. So great, we started that. And then by the end of 2022, everything changed. I did a TikTok post about Mindy Kaling probably being on Ozempic. She looked great and we went viral. And then everybody was looking for access to these medications. At about that time, Ozempic and Wegovy went on the FDA shortage, or Ozempic went on the FDA shortage list. Soon thereafter, Wegovy went on the FDA shortage list. Then once Mounjaro and Zepbound got approved, they went on the FDA shortage list. And so we were able to get all these medications from compounding pharmacies. And now we're helping providers all over the country incorporate this and staying compliant in the process. So please start asking questions as I get into this kind of latest chapter in this whole saga of weight loss medications. First it was, the popularity of the medications, they went into shortage, and they came off a shortage. And now the name brand companies are lowering their prices. And now Trump RX is coming out. I'll get into what that is. And so everybody's worried. So, if you're running your own weight and wellness program, can you compete in this day and age with the name brand drugs offering these less expensive name brand vials? Can you compete with the Trump RX? Yes, 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 you can. And I'm going to talk to you about the background to this and also where you can compete and how you can compete. And this is not going anywhere. This is definitely a place for all of us to continue and to be very excited about. So, Trump RX, you can look it up. It's trumprx.gov. It's a real website. It's not launching as far as a functional website until 2026, but you can see it now. It is a placeholder website right now. And then what it is in 2026, they're not going to actually start selling medications. What it's going to be is they're going to be a portal providing links to other companies that are selling medications that are name brand, that are cash pay only, not through insurance. And it's going to not just be for GLP-1s, even though that's what's going to be most popular for, but yes, it'll be the Lilly Directs from Eli Lilly offering Mounjaro and Zepbound, and NovoCare from Novo Nordisk. They'll be linked to their website where you can purchase their name brand weight loss meds. But there's going to be other medications on there, medications for blood thinners and for maybe even oral cancer treatments and things like that. There's going to be different cash-based pricing for services through those websites coming from all of these name brand drug companies, what they call their direct to patient websites, similar to direct to consumer, which I'll get to that in a second. But it's basically going to be all links through TrumpRx will take you to all these different direct to patient websites where you can purchase medications, name brand medications, with a credit card online. You still need to be seen by a clinician first, and maybe those direct to patient websites will connect you with a provider to review your information, and then it'll be ship the medication to the patient. Once the oral medications from Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly come on board, those will be available for $149 per month through TrumpRx. Orforglipron, which is not approved yet, the oral version of semaglutide at a higher 25 milligram dose will not be available. It's not available yet. Rybelsus is an oral semaglutide from Novo Nordisk, but that's a 7 and a 14 milligram tablet that doesn't really work for weight loss. But at the 25 milligram doses, they're finding that there is more weight loss with that. So anyway, once those are FDA approved, or for glipron and semaglutide in the oral formulation, those will be available. But and these will be great medications, greater than what we had, 5 years ago. I think this will be for a lot of other countries where people will really get into this because it will be less expensive and easy to store. You won't have to refrigerate it. But I don't think here in America these are going to take off as much. Now, Eli Lilly doesn't care about my opinion, but they also don't want to hear it. I don't think this is going to be as big as the injectables. They're daily pills. They're not weekly pills. I think a lot of people are thinking it's going to be a weekly version of Mounjaro and Zepbound. No, it's a daily pill. And there's going to be daily GI symptoms, and their weight loss, even in the best of circumstances, with the best data, with the people, only including the people that stayed in the program, was 11% weight loss. And so that's really just not going to do the trick for a lot of patients. Again, as I mentioned, the idea is that it's great for 5 years ago, but it's not really going to be. I mean, people are expecting 15 and 20% weight loss now. In fact, CagriSema, which is a combination of cagrilintide and semaglutide that Novo Nordisk came out, they released some results of 23% weight loss, and people were upset about it. The news organizations were like, "Oh, this is disappointing," because they're expecting 25 and 30% weight loss. So if people are disappointed now with 23% weight loss with new medications, they're certainly going to be disappointed with a daily medication that's only 11% weight loss. So that's why I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue if you're worried about competition and like being priced out because it's 149. Then when it comes to Zepbound and Wegovy, the prices through TrumpRx directing you back to these direct-to-patient websites through NovoCare and Lilly Direct. The lowest starting dose is going to be $299, and then the highest dose is going to be $449. And so you may be worried, oh, well, I charge more than that right now in my own practice. How am I going to compete with that? We'll get into different strategies for that. But be aware that online you'll read things about, oh, they're only charging $350 a month. That's the average between the $299 and $449. So it's a little bit of fake news. So next, I want to talk about what TrumpRx is, one of these latest laws that were, or latest executive orders and agreements have been passed recently with Medicare, Americans over 65. that implementing this in mid 2026, that you still have to be obese to qualify, and only 10% of Medicare patients are considered obese. The government is going to be able to get these medications. I think it's for like $245 per month. That's what the government fee is going to be to the pharmaceutical company. And in exchange, they will offer these medications to Medicare patients who meet those criteria, as I mentioned, of being obese. The Medicare patients, the government will pay $245, and then the patient will pay a $50 copay. So that will be those patients over 65 that are considered obese. But however, their inclusion criteria is a little bit more strict than what we're used to. Based on public information, obviously things could change by the middle of 2026, that the BMI has to be at 27 or a comorbid condition, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, or sleep apnea, things like that, or a BMI of 35. We're used to a BMI of 30 without any comorbid conditions. So they've raised it to 35. So this will actually cover a lot fewer people than we think. And so there will still be Medicare patients, people over 65, that will be seeking out your services to pay cash for these medications. As far as Medicaid, that's going to be a state by state decision because it's a state program for poor and for children. And if the state opts in, they'll be paying that $245 per month for the medication. And then the Medicaid patient will have any copay. And then there's going to be negotiations coming in 2027, according to the CEO of Eli Lilly, with private insurers to try and negotiate better rates with them. But there's no evidence, and there's actually been talk that the rates won't be as good as what they're offering Medicare. They won't be. They'll charge a higher price to the private insurance companies than the $245 that the government is paying. But we'll see. So this brings me all to the point of, it's okay, even if there's more competition. The truth is, in the big picture, I think this is great for America. It's increasing access, getting more and more patients availability of these incredible medications. So don't be worried about, oh my God, the competition. I understand from a financial standpoint, you have to worry about, but I'm just talking about in the bigger sense, this is really great for America to have better access to these medications. But it's still going to be great for all of us that are in this business of offering these medications. And I'll explain why over the next several slides. The reason that there is a shortage of weight loss drugs in America is if you look at the dark silhouettes, that represents all of the people in America that are potentially that are potentially candidates for these medications. Meaning, when I say candidates, I'm talking about they have one of the several indications now: type 2 diabetes, weight loss, heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, cardiac disease, sleep apnea, chronic kidney disease, fatty liver. There's all these different indications between the two medications, between Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound, Mounjaro, that they have one of these indications. So there's all those indications, but specifically with the patients, the 44% of Americans that are considered obese, they represent that dark silhouette. Those are the 44% of Americans that are obese and are currently candidates for these medications. But if you do the math of 44% of Americans, of 330 million Americans, and then you look at the fact they need one shot a week, 4 times a month, 12 months out of the year, probably on these for a very, very long time, that comes out to be 7.2 billion shots per year. They need to make 7.2 billion shots or 7.2 billion doses per year for Americans to be fully get their access to be fully treated. Now, that's 44% of Americans that are considered obese. That's not the other 56% of Americans that want access to the medication, that want to lose weight just to feel a little healthier, to help with their inflammation, or the other things that may not have an indication for. So there's just an overwhelming demand for these medications. And if the white silhouettes are just, that represents the number of people that needed a COVID shot the first year that people were willing to take it. So just an overwhelming amount of demand that between all these companies, they can't produce 7.2 billion doses per year. Then if you look at this bar graph, and I produced these two charts and graphs, I produced these years ago. So this isn't new. This is something that I've been seeing coming a long time. That when you, on the far right, when you get more indications for the disease, as I mentioned, fatty liver, chronic kidney disease, sleep apnea, not to mention the weight loss and all that good stuff, that as you increase the indications for the disease, it lowers the GLP-1 supply. As you get more insurance coverage, which not that's not so much the case, but more Medicare coverage possibly, but more access because the prices are coming down. As it becomes more affordable, you can see all of this reduces the GLP-1 supply and the fact that they can't meet the demand right now of all the obese people in America and all the other people that want the medication. Again, just driving home the point that they can't meet demand as the indications increase, as they make it more affordable. So that means the compounding pharmacies are going to have to come to the rescue and help with offering patients these medications. So that's why if you're offering these medications through a compounding pharmacy, you're definitely going to be able to continue doing that. And if you're offering these medications through Lilly Direct and NovoCare and you're just writing the prescription, that's really, really silly. You should be vertically integrating this into your own practice. That's absolutely no reason for you to use those direct to patient websites. You should be your own direct to consumer website. You should be offering these medications through a compounding pharmacy. You can get a greater generation of revenue of your net margin. You can still charge less than what the name brand drug companies are charging, and you can still make an incredible net revenue, which I'm going to talk about now. So, how are our providers responding? The DrWell providers that are on network, it's over 200 providers right now and growing. How are they responding to these concerns? Now, I also want to make very clear that Trump RX 2026, but if you've watched the news, Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly have already lowered their rates, these cash prices that are going to be available through Trump RX. So they've already lowered them. They're already here, they're already present. And the prescription generation from our providers that are going through compounding pharmacies are exceeding month after month after month. Already this month, we've submitted more prescriptions through DrWell from our providers than in any month before. So even though these greater, lower rates are available through the name brand drug companies, we are still seeing more traffic, more patients, more providers using our services, using the compounding pharmacies. So this isn't going away. And you have to just ask yourself, when this all started at the end of 2022, you're like, oh, well, it's going to come off the shortage list. I'm not going to get into it. And then it came off the shortage list, and then compounding pharmacies started adding additives to counteract some of the known side effects associated with GLP-1s, like deficiencies in B vitamins because of the delayed gastric emptying, one of the ways the medications work, or adding glycine in because of the lean body mass loss, which can happen with any type of weight loss. And so they continued making it. So you didn't get in then because you thought it was going to go off the shortage list. Then it came off the shortage list and it was still available, and you're not going to get into it then. And now you're probably saying to yourself, oh, I'm not going to get into it because now the name brand drug companies are lowering the rates. There's no money in it. I'm about to prove to you that that is the wrong way to think about it. And that, your competitors have Botox. It's not like you don't offer Botox because other people have Botox. So you really need to stop standing on the sidelines and you need to get into this. This is better than Botox, quite frankly, because it's a better profit margin, which I'm going to explain in a second. But more than that, you see a Botox patient at most 4 times a year, except that there's touch-ups, which you have to offer for free, and then you're losing money. But you see a Botox patient 4 times a year, and you've got to actually do something as far as inject them. Whereas with weight loss medications or all these other wellness medications, you do your due diligence, you check the patient out, you review their medical history, but then you're treating those patients every month, 12 times a year, not just 4 times a year, and the net revenue is better. So I don't want to lose sight of that you're able to treat patients right, you're able to treat patients safely, you're able to provide them with medications from a 503A pharmacy, you're able to do the right thing and still make money. That's okay. If you're just making money and you didn't care about the patient, that's where the problem is. But that's not what we're talking about. And I don't think that's what any of you are talking about. The point being is that you can do right by your patients and you still generate a lot of revenue. And then those patients become downstream patients for other services you offer. There's none of this nonsense with a loss leader, like all your laser devices that are loss leaders. I just get them in. You don't have to think like that anymore. That's just what the big laser companies are trying to convince you of. They're gaslighting you. They're using a Jedi mind trick on you, telling you that, oh, this is a loss leader, but you'll make more money down the road. Just stop paying $150,000, $200,000 on a mortgage for a laser and do the right thing and treat patients with these medications, which are so much more effective. And you see them more, not you see them more often, but they're interacting with your office more often. And it's not as infrequent as Botox. So now that I've said that, let me get back to the pricing strategy that we're offering our providers. So one strategy you could do is just offer a flat rate that undercuts Trump RX, and you could still have a great profit margin. Now, this isn't the only one. I'm not telling you just lower your prices and it's a race to the bottom. Not at all. I'm going to have other strategies. Bear with me. But anyway, if you want to choose the flat rate that undercuts Trump RX, still have a great profit margin, I'm going to prove that to you. And the reason you're able to still have a great margin, even if you undercut Trump RX, is because you can get lower cost of goods if you're working with a company that can get you lower cost of goods. If you're just working on your own, you've got no leverage with the compounding pharmacies. However, if you're part of a large group of providers, you're going to get better cost of goods, lower cost of goods. So, for example, tirzepatide with B6, which we can currently get for you, we can get other tirzepatides. I'm just using this as an example, that the range from the lowest dose to the highest dose, including shipping and handling. By the way, if you see a price from a compounding pharmacy and it's showing you and you think it's cheaper, ask them what the shipping is. They're leaving out the shipping so that you're fooled into thinking that they're so cheap, but they're not, because then they're going to add like $40 for shipping, and then all of a sudden it's not less expensive. So anyway, with tirzepatide with B6, from the lowest to the highest dose, as you can see on the screen, it is $85.23 from the lowest dose to $217.62 for the highest dose. If you've seen a part of this presentation before, you'll see those numbers are a little bit different because since the last time I gave this presentation, we've actually been able to negotiate better, lower cost of goods. So that's our cost of goods and for tirzepatide B6. So let's do some math. Let's say you offer a flat rate of $400, clearly undercutting Trump RX, so 449. Then if you go from the lowest dose to the highest dose, your profit is $314 from the lowest dose, 78% profit margin. That's crazy. And then even with the highest dose, you're still $182. Your profit margin is 45%. You're not losing money. You're making a 45.6% margin on that for the highest dose. And I would argue that you could even raise your price to $449, the same price as Trump RX, because as in the aforementioned slides, with all of this increased demand, they're not going to be able to get the name brand drug. So they're going to be willing to pay the same price from you to get the medication. That's a good decision they're going to have to make. I can pay $449 and not get the medication, or I can pay $449 from you and get the medication. And you'll be able to get them the medication faster than any of these direct-to-patient websites, direct-to-consumer websites, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a second. So again, these rates are all available through our network. Let's talk about another pricing strategy. Don't undercut Trump RX. Have a higher flat rate, but include additional services. In my practice, we have a higher rate for some of these packages that we offer, but it includes coaching, free treatment of side effects. If they're having nausea, we'll just mail them some Zofran. Or you can bundle in products. So in this example, the lowest dose of tirzepatide with B6, as I showed you before, $85.23 cost of goods. Hair Force One, these patients, they lose weight. That's a stressor on their body. They lose some hair. Hair Force One is a great product because it doesn't actually have any drugs in it. Doesn't have minoxidil, which could lower your blood pressure, just give you lower heart contractility, which would make it a little harder to exercise. Doesn't have finasteride, which is an issue for premenopausal women. Hair Force One is all these vitamins plus biotin. It is still a prescription because it's all higher doses of those vitamins that do make all those active ingredients require a prescription. So, but that's so cool about Hair Force One is it doesn't actually include drugs, but it is a pharmaceutical grade, and that's $53. You send that to the patients, 2 tablets a day, 2 capsules a day, as opposed to like Nutrafol, which is 4 horse tablets a day, and it's also got saw palmetto in it, which can lower your platelet count. Hair Force One doesn't have any of those drawbacks, which is why we use that now instead of Nutrafol. Then you could also offer BPC 157. The cost of goods for that, including shipping, is $130.63. Now, if you add all those up, and I know you're thinking, oh, BPC 157, we can't get that. Hold on, I'll get to that in a second. So with the cost of goods with all three of these, $268.86. Well, you could charge $600. And of course, your net margin is $331, 55%. And you're offering this patient a great package because those direct-to-patient websites, direct-to-consumer websites, they can't get all these things together. So this is where they can come to you and you can get everything bundled together for them. Even if you want to bundle Zofran in, you'll be able to do that because you'll have access to a compounding pharmacy that offers thousands of things. Now, as far as BPC 157, we actually have a 503A source of peptides. So for those of you out there that are getting it from a research grade lab, Alpha Med Bio, or you get it through MedShift, and you think, oh, that's great and everything. No, it's all illegal. It really is illegal. And if you've seen other webinars, I've talked about a doctor in Kentucky that was offering these research grade peptides, GLP-1, semaglutide, and he got caught and he has to pay a $250,000 penalty. And this is a plea agreement. I actually have a copy of the plea agreement that I've shown in other presentations. And this is just in April. Um, and also, he's facing up to 3 years in prison. I don't know if he's actually been sentenced to 3 years, but he faces up to 3 years in prison because he's getting research grade peptides, specifically semaglutide. And so, if you're going to these research grade labs and you're getting it, and I know it's a lower price, but if you look on the website, you scroll to the bottom, it clearly says not for human use. You're setting yourself up to get sued by every single patient. You might say, oh, well, I just had them sign a consent. You can't get somebody to sign away their right to sue the crap out of you because you did something illegal. That's not the way it works. So if you're getting peptides, BPC 157, Glow, Wolverine, semaglutide, tirzepatide, and you're getting this great rate, why would I charge these rates? Well, it's illegal and you're going to get caught and you're eventually going to get in trouble, or these research grade labs you're going to are going to get shut down. I mean, some of them have already gotten shut down. They will continue to get shut down. And so anyway, our BPC 157 done legally, done through a 503A pharmacy. And then the other pricing strategy is a tiered pricing strategy where you start low and then each month or every few months, depending on what dose you go up to, the price increases as the dose goes up. So this is another way where you can undercut TrumpRx and everybody else. So going back to our cost of goods, in this example, tirzepatide B6, $85 to $217, that you could do tiered pricing from $250 to $425. And I just sort of made up those numbers. But if you look at the lowest dose, if you're charging $250 for the lowest two doses, for example, your profit is still $164, 65% profit margin. And remember, you're not having to go in and do these injections yourself. You could set it up to where you're having these vials sent to the patient. DrWell, we can provide you with video tutorials on how the patients to draw up the medication to do the injections. These patients aren't necessarily having to come in your office. I know some of you want them to come in your office. There's more foot traffic. You can do it however you want, but there's more and more patients out there that just want the convenience of this being shipped to them. So it makes it very easy for you to generate this revenue without you having to really do a whole lot except have the medication shipped to them. And then if you charge for the middle doses, $350, then it's $186 profit with those cost of goods adjusting, and then the profit margin is still 53%. And then for $425, the highest dose, $207, 48% profit margin. So you're still generating a healthy revenue with these medications, with this tiered pricing model. And then our system will set it up to where whenever the patient's enrolled in the lowest dose, when it's time for them to go to the next higher dose, if they choose to do that, then our system will automatically email them, let them know that they're about to go to the next higher dose and that they're about to get charged a little bit more. And then if they don't do anything, they'll stay in. The price will be updated. They'll get charged more, and the prescription will be auto-generated through our system. And if they don't want to, then they can opt out. But that's the really important thing, is that your EMR doesn't have that sort of automated re-enrollment feature that we do. So that we do give them the informed consent, letting them know their price is going to go up. And if they don't do anything, the price will go up, the dose will go up, and you'll be able to send them the medication. They won't have to manually unenroll from one thing and re-enroll in another thing, because they'll unenroll in one, but they won't necessarily re-enroll in the other. But if we automate the process, then it's a lot easier for you and for the patient. The other offerings that you can provide that are not commercially available, that they won't be able to get through a direct-to-patient website or direct-to-consumer website, is the medications like GLP-1 squared. This is a product that is only available through us, where we've actually combined semaglutide, tirzepatide together. That's considered off-label, but since both individual ingredients are FDA approved, it's legal for us to offer this combination off-label, totally legal. And we've been able to get this from our compounding pharmacy. We've actually run zebrafish studies on it. We've gotten certificates of analysis, all legit. And the other thing that's cool about GLP-1 squared is that both of the individual of the doses of semaglutide, tirzepatide, they're both lower than each of the commercially available doses if they were looked at individually. So instead of it being the lowest dose of 0.25 milligrams of semaglutide and 2.5 milligrams of tirzepatide, it's lower than that, and there's 5 steps. The other thing that we're learning about this is it looks like that the combination together at lower doses is actually as effective because they're actually both binding to the receptors, GLP-1 receptor and GIP receptors, in a different way with different downstream effects. It's really, really fascinating that you can actually have both of these combined at lower doses and be just as effective. So this could be great for patients who are just starting out that don't want to go up too fast. It can be great for patients who have maxed out and they want to do the combined, and it can lower the dose. And we're also exploring it for patients with addictive behaviors. It could be alcohol use disorder, it could just be nail biting or people trying to stop smoking. That because they're probably going to need these medications long term, that because these combined medications are at lower doses, they can be on these indefinitely. So it's really, really exciting what we're doing with GLP-1 squared. Anyway, you can't get that anywhere else. You can't get it on Trump RX. So you can certainly, the patients are going to come to you for those non-commercially available products. Super semaglutides. Novo Nordisk has done the study showing that 2.4 milligrams is great of semaglutide, but you can actually go to 7.2 milligrams, that dose, and there's additional weight loss, and it's still safe. It's still not commercially available. So we can actually get you access to super semaglutide for those patients that are maxed out on 2.4, take them all the way to 7.2. We also have 17 milligram doses of tirzepatide, and all of those can be offered at a higher price. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a race to the bottom for those. As I mentioned, you can build packages that include GLP-1s and also those newly sourced 503A peptides. And then, of course, there's microdosing vials for ongoing maintenance. So you can provide the patients with our compounding pharmacies have smaller vials for microdosing. And so you can have patients doing that. And microdosing, that can be a lower dose every week, or it can just be a similar dose, but just less frequently. So microdosing can be really whatever you want, lower dose or less frequent. Um, and again, just to reiterate, GLP-1 squared super semaglutide only available through us. Now, when it comes to shipping, you can just other ways for you to save money is that you can have all the medications from the compounding pharmacy shipped to your office for lower shipping cost. So think about it. If you order 10 vials to your office, that's one shipping charge. But if you order one vial to 10 patients, that's going to be a shipping charge on each patient. And all of that is going to be costly to you, whether we're withholding it because you're using our service, we're withholding that cost of goods. Because remember, with our system, after the patient is charged, it auto generates a prescription. You go into our system, you submit that prescription, it's electronically routed to the appropriate compounding pharmacy. Once you submit it, we know what the cost of goods are. We withhold that from the patient's payment and we send you the net revenue. So you don't have a compounding pharmacy bill at the end of the month with us. But if you're sending individual vials to individual patients, that's going to be a higher shipping cost. We're going to withhold those shipping costs. So that's how it'll decrease your net revenue if you're shipping all these individual vials to patients. Whereas if you send it to your office, all 10 vials, and then you turn around and you ship it to the patient, you're still saving money. It's still less for you to turn around and ship it to the patient than you having the compounding pharmacy ship it directly to the patient. So I'm not saying you got to have it all shipped to your office. If you use us, you can, when you're checking out and submitting the prescription to the pharmacy, you can choose to ship it to the patient, ship it to the clinic. I'm just letting you know, just math. It's less expensive to have it all shipped to your office, even if you have to turn around and ship it to the patient, or maybe they'll come into the office to get it from you. The other thing to keep in mind is that some pharmacies actually charge a higher cost of goods, not just the shipping, but like, let's say semaglutide is $50 for the medication. If you ship it to your office, it's $80 if they ship it to the patient, plus the cost of shipping. So that just all eats into your net revenue. And if you're worried about profit margins because you feel like you're going to have to compete with Trump RX and all those things, then this is a way for you to maintain your net margin, even if you lower your price. And then the other thing is you can, if you have it shipped to your office, you allow your ability to build an office stockpile. And we can guide you through the logistics and shipping best practices. But the thing is, I want to talk about when I talk about shipping it to your office and creating an office stockpile of patient-specific medications is that you're going to provide better customer service. Let me explain. The thing that's really going to be able to separate you from the Trump RXs, the direct-to-consumer websites like Roe and Hims, the direct-to-patient websites like Lilly Direct and NovoCare and other traditional clinicians, is that you're going to be able to get the medication to the patient faster if you follow our strategy. If you think about it, our model really is the only one where clinicians can provide patients with same-day medications, or at least ship it out the same day if you maintain an office stockpile and default ship to the office. Because think about it, if the medications are getting commoditized, all these different websites are offering it at lower prices, a race to the bottom, theoretically, not for us though. You don't have to be or be in that race to the bottom game. That if they're being commoditized, then speed of delivery is the only differentiator. And so with you actually having the patient specific medication in your office, that when that patient's next charge occurs, you can send them their patient specific medication because the BUD is long enough. You have it in your office, you ship it to them, or they come in and they get it that same day. That they can't do that with Trump RX, a direct to consumer, direct to patient website. They got to wait for the order to be placed to the pharmacy and then shipped to the patient. And so what we do is you place the order, you place like 2 vials, an order for 2 vials. You get them both shipped to your office. You give the first one to the patient for their day one medication. And then that next month, when they're charged again, you send them that other vial from your office. And then with that next charge that they've made, that's when you then submit the prescription, and then you replenish that stockpile. Nobody else can do that except if you're doing that through us using our strategy. All of these other companies, they're going to take longer, 7 to 10 days to get the medication to the patient. This is the only thing that's going to differentiate you is the speed of delivery, and we can help you talk you through that. Plus, don't forget that as patients get healthier, they're going to be curious about other medications. They're going to realize, like, wow, this one shot a week makes me feel great. I want to try BPC 157. And even if they don't feel like it's working, it's also not harming them. And they think, well, maybe it is working. They're going to want to keep doing it. So they're going to just want all these other things because people are really into health span now rather than just lifespan. It's very exciting. So to kind of really delve into it more, what we do, DrWell, is we help you compete. So if you can see my cursor here, what I'm trying to show you is that the patient, if they reach out to a Roe or a Hims, that they've made it very easy for consumers to sign up for medications. They have these online questionnaires, asynchronous consultations. The patient fills that out. And then the independent contractor that Roe has hired, they don't actually have like real dedicated providers to that patient, that they review it and they submit the order to the pharmacy, and the medications get delivered to the patient's home. But what DrWell does is we help you compete on that same level as the Roe or Hims. Now, I'm not saying we're going to drive millions of dollars worth of digital ads directed to your website. We can't afford that yet, but we are spending a lot of money to drive patients to our provider finder where they can find you. But what we're doing, what way we're allowing you to compete with Roe and Hims, is instead of you having to build out your own asynchronous consultation form, we created what's called a DrWell Smart Consult. So with our DrWell tech stack here, we can give you all the things that Roe and Hims have as far from a technology automation standpoint. Patient can fill out the asynchronous consultation, and that's one way they can get you online. But DrWell also allows you to make it very easy to enroll your in-office patients so that you see the patient, you send them a link through DrWell, they get a text or an email, they click on that link, they're brought to a mobile-friendly website, and then they can sign up for the medication. We process it through our high-risk payment processor, and then you submit the prescription to the pharmacy, and we send it to the pharmacy that's most appropriate for that. So all those things that you would have to do on your own, we are helping you do all that. So now you can compete in that same digitized way as Roe and Hims. So you don't have to build out your own asynchronous consultation online questionnaire, and you're gonna, if you're manually charging the patient every month, I mean, it's all crazy stuff. And so we automate that charge every month for you. So that's how we help you compete with them. And remember, you can have the option of sending the patient either to their home or having them come into your office. Then the other thing is that when it comes to the direct-to-patient websites like NovoCare, TrumpRx, and Lilly, same thing. You're using the DrWell tech stack, getting those meds shipped to the pharmacy, and then it's being shipped to the patient or to their home. And then we're also getting into drug development now with that GLP-1 squared, where we're actually going through the process of getting an investigational new drug application approval to get GLP-1 squared, particularly for alcohol use disorder, but you can use it for weight loss too, of course. So let me go into some detail about the asynchronous consultation of the Smart Consult. Let's think about the traditional process. The traditional process, you have patients call the office, they wait for somebody to answer the phone. The person that answers the phone probably doesn't know enough to answer their questions. It's a terrible front desk experience. When they schedule the appointment, maybe you make them come in. They have to wait a week or so because you think y'all are so busy. And then the patient receives their script, and then maybe they have to wait for it to come to from the compounding pharmacy, or maybe they have to go stand in line at in the pharmacy. With the DrWell Smart Consult process, you can actually provide a link to the patient on your website or in your link tree where they can click on that. They can fill out that smart consult and they can then fill that out. You review it. You send them a link to sign up for the medication. They sign up online and then they're charged. That auto generates a prescription, and the medications are sent directly to them or to your office, and you ship it out to them, or they get the medication the same day because you have their stock, patient specific stock for them, and so they can get their medication the same day that they're charged. So this is a much better process, and this is what allows you to compete with the Rose and the Hims. Now, just to be clear, that this is how you can get patients in the middle of the night and after hours and on the weekends. This is also the same process you would go through if you have your in-office patients. You still send them a link. You don't have to have them fill out a smart consult because they're already your patient. They've already filled out your own paperwork. That's fine. But the same process follows up where you send them a link, they sign up online, and they get the medication way easier. And we've had providers who maybe stopped using us after a couple of years for whatever reason, thought they could do it on their own, but then all of a sudden their cost of goods go up because they're not getting the same rates that we're providing them through our compounding pharmacy. And now they no longer have that online sign up process. They're having to do it manually for the patient, and the patients don't like it. The patients are used to knowing how it can be done better. And then all of a sudden, invariably with any provider that leaves, their program implodes because they don't appreciate all of that mobile friendly automation that the patients appreciate, and the provider thinks that they can we'll just eat the additional cost, but it adds up quick, and then that pharmacy can no longer get you that medication. It's just a scramble. So doing this on your own, it gets very complicated very quickly. So going through the DrWell Smart Consult process, excuse me, again, they can do it online. They can be seen in person. You can do a virtual visit, whatever you want to do. But then this is where you see you can go into the DrWell backend and you can choose what package you want to sign them up for. You send them that link either via text or email, and then they get that text, for example. They click on that link. They're brought to this mobile-friendly page where they click enroll now. It doesn't get any more obvious than that. And then they're brought to a checkout page, and that's processed through a high-risk payment processor. And that's really only available through us. And then with that smart consult, they can fill out the questionnaire for any of these different subjects, and it takes them down a different path. So they're not just asked all the questions, they're asked questions specific to what their concerns are. And they fill that out, and then you review it in the back end. And then you'll actually be notified if it's in one of those 19 states where you have to have a follow-up consultation with them, either virtually or in person. It's 19 states, but everybody can fill these out. You got all their medical information filled out on here, but we do prompt you if it is somebody you need to have a follow-up visit. But you review it, and then you can send them back a message. And more importantly, you can send them back a link. This is the same way if you have an in-office patient, you just send them a link without the smart consult. But you send them this link, and then they are able to sign up the same way where they get a text, they log into their consumer portal, and they enroll now. And it's just a really, really slick process. And your EMR doesn't offer smart consults, and they're not going to help you with sending a link directly to the patient from that form. It's just not happening. And this is what's the other thing that's cool about this is the desktop view, and it's got your logo at the top where they sign up, they pay, and then after they pay, then they're actually given recommended items where they're like, oh, well, people who got semaglutide or tirzepatide or this hair care treatment, they also got BPC 157. They also got Glow. They also got Hair Force One. They also got NAD and a nasal spray and a flex dose tablet and an injection and a facial cream. So you can give them, it's just like Amazon where you can give them additional recommendations after they check out. And then because their credit card's already in there, all they have to do is enroll now and they're charged and it's done. It's like really, really slick. So I don't think your AMR offers recommended checkouts after recommended items after checkout. So again, just the patient clicks on that link, they enroll. It's taken care of through our high-risk payment processor. For those of you who don't know, that if you're charging patients manually every month, the card's not present. That's in violation of Visa and MasterCard's terms and conditions for high-risk services, and medications, whether they're compound or not, are considered high-risk services. And so we are going to keep you on the up and up for processing these payments so that you don't get in trouble. As long as you're processing these payments through DrWell, then it won't be an issue. And then when they're charged, this brings you to the e-prescription page where you see the patient's demographics, you see the medication. We already include the reason. That's what GLP-1 is, another medication. You have to have a reason when you send it to the compounding pharmacy. That's already included. You can choose from a drop-down list of which one's appropriate. And then we also keep track of the dose. You can see here for these two lowest doses before they're re-enrolled to a higher dose at a higher price. But we have these different doses, and we keep track of that. So you don't have to have a spreadsheet keeping track of the dose. Our system automatically increases them each month unless you click on this lock dosage toggle, and you can lock them in at that dose. And then you see a breakdown of what we're withholding to pay the cost of goods, what the shipping cost is. And so you see exactly what your net revenue, estimated net revenue is right here. So you see that in real time. Your EMR doesn't auto-generate prescriptions. Think about, you have to go and add information. You got to add a SIG. You got to, if you do it through a compounding pharmacy directly, you got to get credentials. You got to log into the compounding pharmacy. We get you signed up for the compounding pharmacy. You don't have to deal with any of that. And then with the compounding pharmacy portal, you have to log in first time, put the patient's information in, look for the drug and everything. None of that's, you don't have to do any of that. It's all auto-generated because we know what package they signed up for that medication, and we know what dose they're on. When they sign up, they put in all their demographics, so you're not have to do any of the double data entry. And then in the back end, you can see what your net revenue is as far as cost of goods and then what you get after all that. Additional service for those of you on the call, if you are an NPPA naturopath, we can actually connect you with a DrWell provider to be your medical director. It's an additional fee, but it's a collaboration program, so that really can make your life easier. You don't have to find somebody and get somebody to do your legal work for you. We can do all the legal work for you. We also have our legit script certification that we can actually run ads on your behalf and direct them to your smart consult on the DrWell platform because we're legit script certified. We can't direct them back to your website. It's got to be on our domain. But again, it goes back to your smart consult page. It doesn't go to the provider finder where they could actually find another doctor. And we can actually use all of those terms that you can only use if you're legit script certified. And when they click on that ad, it brings them back to a landing page that would have your logo at the top. It'll have your patient photos if you have patient photos, and it can have a blurb about you on this page where they can actually put in their information. And then after that, if they want to fill out a smart consult, they can then do that. So it's a great way to generate leads through our legit script certification. So again, we can help you compete with the smart consult and leverage our legit script certification without hassle. Just direct them back to that landing page to put in their contact info or to fill out a smart consult. And it's more than just GLP-1s. We've got sexual wellness, hormone therapy. We've got the peptides, from a 503A pharmacy, the Wolverine blend, NAD, CUGHK, Glow, all that good stuff. We can also get all different hair care treatments and even skincare products. Your BLT cream you could even get through us. But anyway, TrumpRx, it's great for America, great for patients, great for DrWell clinicians because a rising tide lifts all boats. Like I said, even though these lower prices are already available through these direct-to-patient websites, we're seeing more demand through our platform from our providers, more patients, more prescriptions than ever before. So a rising tide really does lift all boats. So it's time to answer questions, but I want you, if you want a demo of the platform, you can take a picture of that QR code. You can see the pricing there, $7,500 annually. It's only ACH. To get our biggest discounts, if you want to pay monthly $750, that's fine. It's also ACH, but you won't get as good of cost of goods discounts. And what I want to show you is something pretty cool here, is that when you take a picture of that QR code, it'll bring you to a page where you can request a demo, but it'll also bring you to our new cost calculator, our ROI calculator. And I'll just show you a quick little review of it, that you can request your book a demo when you go to that page, but then you can use this slider to say, how many patients you think you might have with semaglutide. You can adjust the price of whatever you want to charge for super semaglutide or tirzepatide or whatever. These are just examples. And you can choose how many patients it would take, to how much money you would make gross for each one of those four medications of GLP-1s, GLP-1 squared, and semaglutide, tirzepatide, super semaglutide. And then at the bottom, we show you the estimated net monthly revenue if you are doing if you're doing any of those. We show you the net revenue after we pulled out the cost of goods, after we pulled out our high risk payment processing fee, and so you get a real view of what you could potentially make every month. And those rates right now, those $70.99 per month, $8,000 annually, that's our regular price. But the $7,500 and the $750 I'm offering is specifically for MedBio Institute, which when you go to request it and let us know that it's MedBio, when you sign up, you can list them as a referral. Anyway, so that's what I want to show you. I'm going to leave that up there the whole time so you can take a look at that, take a picture of that. But the ROI calculator is awesome. It just shows you how quickly you can generate enough revenue, net revenue, to allay any concerns you have about competition. And because you got competition all around you and didn't stop you from practicing medicine. So thank you very much. Lots of questions. Sorry if I ran a little long, but we're still within our hour. So thanks,
Yeah.
Katya.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. This is great. And we'll send out this link to with the recap with the recording and stuff. So you guys will get that with you. All right, so I guess jumping into questions, it looks like most of them are in the chat. So there's the first one, patients are asking for NAD. Are the new Flex Tab oral options just as powerful as the injection or IV options?
So everybody's a little bit different. Obviously, it's your own patient experience, but I have personally tried the NAD flex dose tablets, which are 200 milligrams, and the pretty standard NAD injection is either 100 or 200 milligrams per injection. And I can say personally, no question about it, the flex dose tablets are as effective as the injection without the injection. You can't say that about the GLP-1s that are coming out that are oral, but I do feel like yes, NAD tablets. I haven't tried the face cream and I haven't tried the nasal spray, but as far as the flex dose tablets, I feel like they definitely give me more energy, and I do them as a pre-workout 30 minutes before I go to the gym, and I feel like I can get through that work. I was always able to get through the workout, but now I'm able to get through the workout at a higher level of stamina with either the injection or the flex dose tablets. I'm not saying everybody's going to have that same experience, but I definitely have.
Is that the best time to take it? Is right before you work out?
Everybody does whatever they want to do, but I feel like it's pre-workout. I think a lot of people drink energy drinks that have a lot of caffeine in them.
Yeah.
So this is just that's what I do personally. I think it's great. It really makes a difference in my workout. It gets a much more intense, powerful workout, and even if there's a placebo effect, that's fine too.
Yeah, that's actually great to know. I'm gonna give it a try. Um, all right. So the next one is the goal of Trump RX to bypass the clinics, or is that the ultimate goal here and is spearheaded by the major drug companies?
Yeah, so I think that yes, it can bypass the clinics, except for the clinics that actually use those not Trump Arcs, but again, Trump Arcs will direct them to direct-to-patient websites like NovoCare and LillyDirect, and I think it's silly for providers who are using those websites rather than internalizing it. I mean, it's like if there's nothing wrong with you generating revenue if you're doing things right by the patient, and so it's silly just to submit orders through those because you're missing out on all that revenue. But I think the reason is big pharma's doing it. They're actually just trying to not sideline the providers because they still need providers to write the prescriptions, but they're trying to sideline the pharmacy benefit managers, the PBMs, and they're trying to sideline the insurance companies. That's what they're doing. They're like, okay, we're just going to go direct to the patient. Yes, we'll take a little bit less revenue than what maybe the insurance company was paying us, but PBMs are a hassle. Everybody's got their hand out, and so they're trying to sideline PBMs and to the greatest extent, and then insurance companies to a lesser extent. They're just trying to own their supply chain a little bit better, which I totally get. And that's kind of what I'm trying to tell all of you to do, that you can own your supply chain.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can you explain how providers earn revenue from the medications well, using DrWell? Are there stark law issues?
All right, great question. Great question. So people always hear about, oh, you're not allowed to upsell or upcharge the cost of medication. That's absolutely true. So when you get the medication from the compounding pharmacy, let's say it's $50 and you're charging $300, well, that's $250. Aren't you upcharging it? No. You as a provider are seeing this patient. You're writing the prescription. You are continuing to follow them for each month after that they're on the medication. That's a service you're providing. So that additional fee, that's your service. Totally legal, totally okay. Nothing illegal about that. And no, you're not upcharging the patient. And in the terms and conditions, we even explain to the patient if they actually read it, we would explain to them that there's the cost of goods and then there's the provider service fee. So all of that
Yeah.
upcharge is your service fee, but it's not an upcharge on the medication. Totally legal.
So actually, that probably goes into this next question. How are so many telehealth companies offering all doses of tirzepatide for significantly lower prices? For example, like 199 a month.
Right. So, I mean, their cost of goods are the same cost of goods that we're able to get you. I know that we're getting awesome rates through our compounding pharmacy because we're generating so many thousands of prescriptions every month from all of our providers. So we're getting those same cost of goods that Roe and Hims are. And you can sell those medications for $199 a month too if you want, and you would actually still make a really nice profit margin because the cost of goods through us are less. But that's the way they're doing. Their cost of goods are less, just like ours. And so that's why I go back to that chart where we allow you to compete with the Roes and the Hims because that's the only way you're going to get better cost of goods is through us. You're not going to have the leverage to do it on your own. The other thing is that with those other companies, just to understand how are they seeing those patients or reviewing those questionnaires, they hire a bunch of independent contractors. In some cases, they hire like a large clinic that reviews all the asynchronous consultations. But you can sign up for Row and Hims, and what you can do is if you see the what I've had some providers tell me, independent providers tell me that when if they review 20 or more asynchronous consultations in an hour, they get paid $200. If they reviewed less than 20, they get paid $50. So
Oh,
what you're doing with Dr. Well RX, or excuse me, with Dr. Well, is that you are able to run all the medications through your practice. You're able to charge for a higher fee if you want because you're providing that service. And so now you're generating all that revenue yourself other than the cost of goods. Whereas with Roe or Hims as an independent contractor, they're just throwing you some peanuts.
okay. And then there's a couple questions about 503A pharmacies. Are they allowed to ship directly to patients and not the office?
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. I've had that question a lot. I think it's some pharmacies that people work with where they say, oh, we cannot ship it to the office. You can only ship it to the patient. Now, there are very few states like Arkansas where you have to send it directly to the patient. And for as far as federal law goes, when it's a controlled substance like phentermine, testosterone, or ketamine, that also has to be shipped directly to the patient. But all of the other pharmacies we work with for all the other medications, it's your choice. When you go to check out through our system, you can have it shipped to the office or shipped to the patient, totally up to you. Yeah.
Okay. And are you shipping to all 50 states?
Oh yeah, no, so that's the other thing is that's our responsibility is to have a lot of pharmacies in our stable who are able to cover all 50 states. And for those of you out there that are looking for a medical director, we have providers that cover all 50 states plus DC. So we can cover any patient, any provider, if you're in need of a medical director. But you, as a provider that's prescribing medications through us, yes, our pharmacies can cover all 50 states. Now, maybe they won't have this formulation or that vial size, but the medication, yes, we can get any medication you want in all 50 states plus DC because of all the pharmacies we work with.
Okay, great.
And I
Um,
also want to clarify, and the excuse me, the ROI calculator demonstrates this. While we are showing you what the cost of goods are, and we will give you guidance on what to charge to make sure you cover your cost of goods, you can charge whatever you want. And on the ROI calculator, you can type that in and charge whatever you want. We are not dictating how much you charge.
okay. And does dispensing it, so I guess having it go to the office versus having it go direct to patients, does that affect professional liability insurance costs?
No, we have not seen that at all because the idea is, of course, you're not manipulating the vial. The vial comes from the 503A pharmacy with the contents that are sterile. They've been reconstituted already at the pharmacy. Because if you're used to dealing with labs, you have to reconstitute it yourself. You're not doing any of that nonsense with us. That's all 503A pharmacies that we work with. It's all reconstituted. So if you get the vial and you turn around and ship it out to the patient, you've not manipulated it. And so there's no difference in liability there based on our experience.
Okay. And beyond use dates of products, I'm assuming that's product specific.
It is product specific, but most of them really are a 90-day BUD.
Okay, great. Um, and then what is the time between patients completing the questions and the provider review approval time?
So we encourage you to do it as quickly as possible. Like anytime, I mean, because that's this patient filling out a smart consult, the online questionnaire, that's like basically a lead. So what they always tell you, you should respond to a lead as quickly as possible. And so yes, we definitely recommend that you do that as quickly as possible. Within minutes, hours, and the patient will sign up. There's in another presentation, I show an example of how we were able to get a patient smart consult, review it, send them a link, and they signed up all in less than 2 hours. That's awesome. That's the way it should be. But what we do is because Dr. Wells' network is competing against the Rose and the Hims of the world, theoretically, that we want you to make sure you see that patient's consult or online questionnaire as quickly as possible. If you don't, then they're just left in limbo. And we know that if they submitted an online questionnaire with Roe or Hims, they're going to be seen quickly. So we need to do the same thing. So what we do, and we send you an email notifying you, the provider, when you get an online questionnaire. We let you know in that email that, hey, you've got an online questionnaire ready to go. If you don't come review it within 72 hours, it will be transferred to another Dr. Well provider who can see them in a more timely fashion. Now, giving you 3 days, 72 hours, even if it's the weekend for you to do this is ridiculous. It shouldn't have to take you that long. Like shame on you for losing out on a lead. But so yes, we want you to do it as quickly as possible, within minutes, within hours. But if you don't do it within 3 days, we're going to give it to a provider who deserves it.
Yeah. Um, and then how are we marketing Dr. Well to our patients?
So you don't have to market Dr. Well at all to your patients. You just market that you've got a weight and wellness program. Now, what we will do is we will go into your email marketing platform and design a template for you that letting people know that you've got a weight and wellness program. And you don't even have to mention Dr. Well because whenever you send them a link to sign up for the medication, it'll have your logo at the top. And then if they go through the smart consult, every page has your logo at the top. So it does always feel like it's your ecosystem. Now, when they get to the very last page of the checkout process where they have to pay, by law, because our payment processor says our logo has to be at the top because we have to show that when they are paying for something, if there's a problem with the billing, that we are the ones who are charging them. So at the very end, we have to have our logo. But the whole point is that throughout that entire process, it's your logo. So you don't have to promote us at all. But if they say, I saw Dr. Well at the bottom of the website when I checked out, you can just say, oh, well, Dr. Well's a partner of ours. But you don't have to go out of your way to promote Dr. Well. We want you to promote your practice. Like I said, we'll develop a knee blast template for you that doesn't have our logo at all on it. And if you're really getting going and you're starting to really champion this, then we'll even send somebody out to help you record a TikTok and Instagram video so that you can promote to your own patients. We'll put it on ours as well. But no, you don't ever have to outright just go ahead and promote Dr. Well. That's not the point of this. We're just trying to support you to be your partner.
And then this next one, I mean, I think this goes to the medical staff at Dr. Well, but how do you make sure the patient qualifies for the recommended medications?
Well, okay, so keep in mind that you could literally have, I talked about having the link for the smart consult on your website, your link tree. You could literally have a button on your website or link tree that says buy tirzepatide now. I know that sounds crazy. I don't want people buying tirzepatide. I don't know who they are. But the thing is, and this goes into the recommended items as well. No, you have no idea if they're really a candidate for those recommended items. But the thing is, when they purchase it, even if you had like a tirzepatide link or BPC 157 link on your website and they purchase it, you get the notification that they purchased it. And then if they're an existing patient, you say, oh, I know them, they're a candidate. That's when you then go in and submit the prescription and it gets filled and shipped to you or to them. But if you don't know who they are, then you could send them a link for the smart consult. They could fill that out. Then you could review it. And then if they are a candidate, then you can send it to them. But if after all that they're not a candidate, well, they don't automatically get the medication sent to them. So while it is out of order that they're buying this and then you review who they are, you're still dotting your I's and crossing your T's. You're just doing them out of order. The point is that they're not automatically getting the medication sent to them just because they purchased it. So if they purchase a recommended item and they're not a candidate for that, then yes, you would refund them their money through our system, and then they might get something else. But I also want to make it very, very clear that after 3+ years of doing this, nobody's not a candidate for any of these things. You might say, oh, what if they have medullary thyroid cancer? I've literally never seen a medullary thyroid cancer patient or somebody that's got MEN type 2 in their family. You're right, they're not a candidate, but I haven't seen that person. Pancreatitis due to GLP-1s, haven't seen that person. Yes, they've had pancreatitis, but maybe it was gallstone pancreatitis. They got their gallbladder out. That's not going to be a risk for them anymore. So we have not, literally not once, we have not had to refund somebody because they purchased something because they were not a candidate for whatever it was. And we weren't just like having this like laissez-faire attitude, like, oh, we're just going to give it to everybody. No, they really were not they were really a candidate for it. Maybe they have buyer's remorse and want a refund. That's fine. That's a totally different subject. But no, we have not had the problem with people purchasing something and then after the fact finding out, oh, they're not a candidate. We have to give them their money back.
So I know we're a little over time. Do you have time to stay on for a few more questions?
Absolutely. I love this. These are
I
great
know
questions. Always
we
great
have lots of
questions.
questions today. This one is about messaging on the portal. Will there be an option where they can email back on the platform? I'm already using Dr. Well, and if I have additional questions, I send back the message that they can't reply back.
Right, right. So yeah, through that smart consult, after they fill it out, and then you review it in the back end, and from there you can send them a message with a link connected to it for them to sign up for the medication. You send them that message. They just get texted, not the message. They just get a text with a link. They click on that link, they log in, and then they can see your message. But that is accurate. They cannot reply to your message. There is a button at the top where they can click and it calls your office. That's where we are right now, as far as the communication. We found that a lot of providers have a lot of different text messaging systems in their office, whether it's through their phone or through Dialpad or Ring Central. There's a lot of text messaging going on, or through DMs on social media. we didn't want to add another one where you had to like keep track of a different line of communication. So as of right now, when you send that message to the patient, we purposely don't have it so that they can text you back. But we do have a button where they can very easily call you back, which is not that hard to do because they're probably looking at it on a mobile device. I'm not saying we're never going to have two-way messaging, but that's why we've done that by design at this point.
Okay. And then this one's a follow-up. So when someone's checking out, is there a way to advise on like combinations or bundles so that people are actually adding things to their cart that would help optimize what they're in there for versus just selecting everything?
Right, right. So there's a couple different ways of doing this. That whenever they are looking at different, when you're setting up your packages, we help you set up packages whatever you want. So you can create a package with multiple items in it, like GLP-1s, BPC 157, and Hair Force One. You can create a package with all that in there. So if there's different packages you want them to gravitate towards and buy together, you can do that. Just keep in mind that when you order those three things, for example, when they purchase those, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be all coming from the same pharmacy. They probably will not be. So you have to understand that the patient, if you have it shipped to the patient, then those three items may be shipped at separate times from different pharmacies. That's just the nature of it. Not all pharmacies have all the same things, which is another reason it's a better customer service experience if you have all of those items shipped to your office instead of the patient. That way you collect them all, and once you get them all, then you can ship them to the patient all in one package. And that's a great customer service experience. So you can create packages with multiple things. The other thing I want to mention is after they fill out a smart consult, for those online patients, that whatever pathway they go through, whether it's about longevity or whether about weight loss, at the end, the last question is which of these medications you're interested in. So if they checked off that if they had gone through the weight loss program pathway on the smart consult, we give them like 30 plus medications they can choose from at the end, not to purchase, but to just check off to show they're interested. So the point is that they are then able, through the smart consult, even if they just went through the weight loss pathway, they're able to show you all the different medications they're interested in. So you can see they're interested in BPC 157, other peptides, and GLP-1s. And then when you respond to them, you can send them multiple links for different packages they may be interested in. So there's just a lot of different ways of doing it. You can create packages with everything, or you can just let them check out on their own.
Okay. And how do you manage the portal when an office has multiple providers? Does the clinic get one portal and then we enroll our clinicians to prescribe through it? Can we limit the visibility for our full financials to admins only?
Yeah, so what you can do is you can add multiple providers. If you add more than three prescribing providers, we do charge you extra for each additional prescribing provider. But as far as office staff, you can have as many office staff have login access, but we will limit the parts of the website that they can go to. So yeah, we do have restrictions on what they can see. Whether they can just whether maybe they can't see the smart consults, maybe they can't see financials. As far as the front office staff, they are limited on what they can see. We only charge you for prescribing providers. So what that means is that if one provider sees this patient, they can send a link and it'll be specific to that provider. So whenever that patient signs up, that provider gets credit for it. It comes back as being prescribed by that provider. So we do track who the provider is that sends the referral link to sign up for the medication. And then we keep track of who that patient is. If they purchase, that provider gets credit for it. So yes, you can add multiple providers. The providers aren't limited to different things that they see because they're providers, but the front office staff is limited to different things. That is something that we're adding where you will be able to limit what providers are able to see different things. But as of right now, the limitations on credentials and visibility is just for front office staff, where there's no limit on the number of people you can sign up.
Okay. And then this next one, so our Strive rep said we can't legally provide patients their first dose after they sign up for a consultation. The prescription has to have their name on it. So you wouldn't be able to use office stock.
Right. So that's what I was describing it, is that when that patient signs up, you can order two vials in that patient's name. Once you get it to your office, you can provide the patient with that first one with their name, which is maybe a few days after they've signed up. But then you have that second vial that you'll be able to give them on day one of their next charge. And then that next charge, you'll then use those prescriptions to submit a couple more vials for them. And then you're always staying ahead. You're always replenishing their stock. So the very first one, yeah, it might be a few days before they get that first one. But after that, they are able to get their medication shipped to them from your office. If you have an office stockpile, patient specific, you can send it out that day or they can come pick it up that day when they're charged after the first charge.
Okay. And availability of retatrutide.
So that's not legal yet because it's not FDA approved. And so if people are getting it, it's from a lab, you're having to reconstitute it. It's like you have no leg to stand on if you get caught for that. So what we're waiting on is in 2026, retatrutide or retatrutide, however you want to say it. That is once that gets approved, it'll go on shortage. But I think even before that, I think a lot of compounding pharmacies will start producing it with additives like glycine and B12. And then as soon as it's legally available from a 503A pharmacy, we'll make it available to our providers.
Great. And what are your medical director fees?
So that's actually negotiated. So that's something that we can talk about. So what's kind of cool about it is that the way we have it set up with DrWell is that you pay a fee if you're not using DrWell. Our platform, as you see, the cost is $7,500. If you also need a medical director, that's another $7,500. And that allows us to connect you with a DrWell provider so you don't have to pay somebody to find you one. Because if you pay somebody to find you one, that's going to be expensive. That $7,500 separately for the medical director fee also includes all of the legal paperwork. And then during that process, that legal paperwork, you and the DrWell provider will negotiate a fee. But what's cool about it is it's not a fee, a flat fee every month. It's actually a percentage of the prescriptions you generate. So if you're not generating a lot of prescriptions, then you're not going to have to pay that medical director a whole lot of money. So that, because if you're not generating a lot, but you still have to pay them $1,500, $2,000 a month, that's going to bite. That's going to really, really be a pain because you're having to pay it out no matter what. Whereas with DrWell, since the medical director is only covering you for the activity that you're doing within the DrWell platform, that means that everything you're running through the DrWell platform are those patient prescriptions. Then that's how we extract the fee for the medical director is it's a percentage of the net revenue that is generated by those prescriptions you're offering. So if that makes sense, that's great. If that doesn't make sense, we can discuss it more in detail separately. But that's one of the big benefits here is that we're for a one fee. Just to be clear, $7,500 to use the platform. That's not the medical director part. It's a separate $7,500 fee for the medical director if you're not using us right now. And that includes connecting to a provider, all the legal paperwork, and then the monthly fee is based on a percentage of the prescriptions that you're writing. So it's a way better deal than what you can do on your own, unless you just know a medical director. That's obviously not going to cost you anything. But this is just much more beneficial for you from a cash flow perspective because you're not having to just come up with $1,500, $2,000 a month. It's based on your prescriptions.
Okay. And how are you providing dosing instructions with the prescriptions?
So you could do whatever you want in your office. What we do is we send a piece of paper that shows them their dose and the units and everything. The SIG is when you submit it, the SIG is with the prescription. But what we also do is we have videos that are specific to the compounding pharmacy that we'll provide to you, and you can send that to the patient. That'll show them if you're doing these different dosages, this is how much you would pull up in the syringe, and it's an animated video, so it's very clear how much they pull up. So we will help you, support you with videos that you can provide to your patients with dosing instructions based on what dose they're on. I will tell you that personally in our own practice, whenever somebody gets their vial for the very first time, we do an injection training with them via Zoom where we show them how much to pull up so they don't overdose or underdose and how to do the injection. And even if they've been on the meds for a while, which most people are now, we don't have to show them how to do the injection. We just need to show them how much to pull up based on the concentration of the vial they're getting, which may be that first time they're getting it from that pharmacy. But you can choose to do whatever you want for education in your own practice. But yes, we also provide you with support with video tutorials on that.
And then these last ones, are we able to see patient records? Um, yeah, or their medical records.
Yeah, so that's what's really cool about this is even though we're not an EMR, I refer to us as a PDS, a patient documentation system. When the patient chooses to when you have a patient fill out a smart consult, again, I'm not trying to say that your patients that are in your office have to fill out a smart consult. That's you just do what you've been doing. We're just saying you use the platform to send a link to them to sign up to make that whole process easier for your existing in-office patients. But for online patients, if they go and fill out a smart consult, even though it's not technically an EMR, that's their medical records. They answer all those questions honestly, based on the check boxes of consents and things that they're saying they're answering them honestly. And so you have all of their medical records they've provided you with that smart consult. So it's pretty cool that even though it's not an EMR, it's this patient documentation system where you see their medical records as part of the smart consult. Then when they sign up for the medication, that is documentation right there. That's what medication they're on. And then when you submit it to the pharmacy with that dose, that's additional documentation. Now you know their medical history, you know what medication they're on, you know what dose they're on, you've got all their demographics. So you've got all the things that you would need as far as a medical history, and you don't have to go back and put it all back into your other EMR. You could just, this is really meant to be a standalone PDS, patient documentation system for weight and wellness. Because at some point, we'll have, I mean, at this point, we already do actually have providers that don't even have brick and mortar. This is people who are getting burned out on the insurance game. Maybe they're a PA in an ER, and they're using DrWell as a standalone weight and wellness platform. They don't even have an EMR, and they're doing just fine.
Great. Well, I think we've reached the end of the questions. We had good questions today. Yeah,
That is
thank
all.
you.
Those are
Thank you
great
so much,
questions.
everybody.
Um, all right. Yeah, no, I'm just looking. I see one. Somebody's asking that they're from Connecticut, and I don't know what that was. It was not a complete question, I guess. But we support providers in Connecticut. We have
Yeah,
providers in Connecticut.
perfect. But we'll share this out with everybody. We'll make sure you get the link in case you want to book a demo. And yeah, we'll share this out with everyone. We're gonna this is our last webinar for the year, so we're gonna pick up the series in January. So we will be sending emails out with the next sessions we have coming up.
Great. Always a pleasure to be with you, Katya. Love
Yes,
MedBio
thank you so much. I
Institute.
appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me back.
All right, thanks everybody. Thank
Bye bye.
you.